That flood planning that Ulla says we need has to factor in the very long-term weather forecast. To get an idea of what's coming, we're joined by Richard Betts, head of the Climate Change Impact Team at the Met Office. Richard, how do you think the flood risk is going to change?
We are definitely confident about seeing increased sea levels. A warming world means more water in the oceans because of melting ice on land, melting glaciers and ice sheets.
Roughly what level of increase, say, in the next 50 years? What's the range on the sea?
Approximately 20 centimetres extra over that kind of time frame, maybe a bit more.
So sea level rise is one of the more certain aspects of
Yes.
climate change, and that's not great news for people already suffering from coastal flooding, I guess. What about this storminess and rainfall, which is particularly topical at the moment?
That's harder. In terms of intense rainfall, there's good reasons to expect rainfall to come in more intense bursts under a warmer climate. So generally, daily rainfall we expect to be more intense. The key thing in terms of what's happening recently, though, is these runs, these spells of wet weather and heavy rain, and that links to the storminess, and that's where we're much less certain. In terms of weather patterns hitting the UK, that depends on the position of the jet stream. Predicting what's going to happen to the jet stream as a result of climate change is very hard. So we can't really say, is it going to get more stormy or less stormy? But we can be confident there's going to be an increase in intense rainfall.
So more intense rainfall, which is likely to contribute to problems of flash flooding. So areas that are vulnerable to that could need to watch out.
Yes, that's right. Flash flooding from intense rainfall.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is about to publish a big report on how we need to adapt to what's coming. What do you think that will tell us, and what use could it be to defending Britain?
Well, the report's still being written, so...
No sneak preview then, go on.
Well, the kind of thing which is in there, there's information on the future projections of climate change and its impact on the natural and human world. But I guess more importantly for practical uses, there's information on what's been done in the past in adapting to climate change and understanding the vulnerabilities that I was just describing. So some practical examples from UK and around the world of what has been done in these kind of things, so we can learn from each other about becoming more resilient.
Ola Holstrom from the engineering consultancy WSP. I'm sure you're far too tactful to rub your hands, but the fact is, this cloud has a silver lining for flood defenders like yourself, isn't it? We're going to need a lot more of your expertise.
Obviously, I'm part of this community and society as well, and I see friends and family being affected by flooding. What I'm looking for is something that is involving the whole of the UK, pulling together for one solution. And consultancy firms such as WSP, of course, we're going to have an input into this, but it's actually going to be far more about mobilise people like Guy and the local authorities and such like, and come together with a solution that fits and works for everyone. And that's going to be the biggest challenge in my view.
Just one back to you, if I may, Richard. When you hear both professionals like we just heard of and politicians and journalists discussing this topic, do you think we've understood the challenge that is coming?
I think we're still coming to terms with both the risk and the uncertainty. I think you put it as a challenge. I think that's right. It's an enormous challenge. Part of the challenge is deciding how much risk we want to live with. Because
in effect, how much literally means how much money, how much disruption, how much of our sort of national effort goes into that.
Yes, exactly. It's about your attitude to risk. It's a judgment call in the face of knowing that something is changing, but not really knowing exactly how it's going to change.
That was a podcast of Costing the Earth from the BBC.